I am never, ever going to spend another second of my time watching the PFL after seeing what just happened in Dubai. Not only did Paul Hughes get robbed of a decision, but it was terrible. Usman Nurmagomedov cheated throughout the entire fight. Paul Hughes won 3 rounds on the verdict scorecard, and still we are sitting here with an still PFL champion Usman Nurmagomedov, okay? The PFL's a joke. If this is your first time seeing my channel, my name is Wyatt. This is Fight Society. Let's get into it. Now, today was probably the biggest PFL fight in the company's history. It was the rematch, Dagestan versus Ireland, Usman Nurmagomedov against Paul Hughes 2 for the lightweight championship. I had the fight 3 rounds to 2 for Paul Hughes. I know that some people had it 3-2 for Usman. I understand that he did look really good. And the rounds that Usman won, he won them by a greater margin than the rounds that Paul Hughes did in the rounds that he won. And so I understand people scoring it 3-2, but listen to this judge's scorecard right here.
Official decision, ladies and gentlemen. The scores are 50-45.
50-45. Paul Hughes knew it right away. He knew right away he was getting fucked. 50-45.
And 48-47 for your winners by unanimous decision and the new PFL lightweight world champion, Usman Nurmagomedov.
And so the judges had it 5 rounds to none for Usman Nurmagomedov, 4 rounds to 1, and 3 rounds to 2. The 3 rounds to 2 I can understand an argument for, but 4-1, 49-46, and also 50-45 is absolutely atrocious. Some of the worst judging I've ever seen. And when you also consider the fact that Keith Peterson, no nonsense Keith Peterson, was reffing the fight, and Usman Nurmagomedov was allowed to land 4 or 5 low blows on Paul Hughes, and only 3 of them got called timeouts on. 2 of them that were low did not get called. Paul Hughes had to fight through low blows. Usman Nurmagomedov headbutted him at the end of the first round after the bell. Keith Peterson, no nonsense Keith Peterson, let that shit happen, didn't step in the middle, really weakly tried to take control of the fight, and it obviously didn't work. Usman was allowed to cheat through the entire first fight, and he was allowed to cheat through this one. He's fucking dirty. He's very good, but he's dirty. And Paul Hughes, not as well-rounded as Usman. Usman is very long and rangy, very quick on the feet, and has great grappling. He just doesn't really have a whole lot of power. Paul Hughes is a lot more meat and potatoes, jab, cross, hook, a little bit with the legs. I know he landed that kind of grazing head kick on Usman. I think it was in the 3rd round, but overall, he's a much more meat and potatoes type of guy. He was really up against it. The crowd was against him. The judges were against him. The referee was against him. And Usman Nurmagomedov was against him, being cornered by Khabib, Islam Makhachev, and Umar Nurmagomedov, and Javier Mendez. Probably one of the most accomplished corners you've ever seen. Here you can see from Verdict. If you guys don't know what Verdict is, it is a fan voting platform where fans go and vote on the rounds of each fight, and they compile the averages. Here it says Usman Nurmagomedov had the higher final score on the verdict scorecard, but it was a razor close fight. And that's what I was getting at. Because here, if you're judging by traditional MMA scoring, Paul Hughes 2, 3, and 5. That's how I scored the fight. But as you can see, much closer on the wins in those rounds compared to Usman Nurmagomedov. Clearly won round 1, clearly won round 4, but then you can see the differentials barely getting by Paul Hughes in the 5th. Paul Hughes barely getting by in the 2nd and 3rd. The 2nd was a little bit better in my opinion, but the 1st and 4th, if you're going by traditional MMA scoring, Paul Hughes should have won the fight. If you go by the verdict score, you barely give it to Usman Nurmagomedov, but man, Paul Hughes got screwed because we were going into that last round and I was sitting here going, it's 2 rounds to 2 going into the 5th, which means by these judges, it's 3-1 in favor of Usman Nurmagomedov, which really sucks for Paul Hughes. He needs to get out of that organization, go to the UFC. He has the fans behind him. Irish MMA, because of McGregor, is always going to have a bit of notoriety. It's the same reason that Ian Gary got attention. And, Brad Katona was on The Ultimate Fighter twice, and I know he's Canadian, but he trains with Conor. And Paul Hughes needs to leave. He is 100% going to lose every fight that goes to a decision against someone with a last name ending in EV or OV, because PFL, for the sake of keeping themselves in business, let's be honest, because they don't make any money, they have to sway heavily in favor of the Muslim fighters to keep getting their Saudi money backing. I'm just going to say it. It is what it is, okay? I'm not wrong, and I'm not rude or whatever the hell you guys are going to say in the comments for pointing that out. And if you're going to look me dead in the face and tell me that there is not favoritism in the PFL and in the UFC, but definitely in the PFL towards Muslim fighters when they're in Muslim countries, you're lying to yourself. And even the cheating that went completely unchecked by Keith Peterson, you know, you got memes like this, Usman Nurmagomedov without groin kicks working at McDonald's. Quick break. If you're loving this video and you want more from Fight Society, click that join button down below to become a channel member today, where you'll get access to members only live streams, behind the scenes vlogs, and all the unfiltered stuff that we don't post to the main channel. Back to the video. And you even see these other things right here. 50-45 has to be one of the most disgusting scorecards I've ever seen. Put a ban on this guy right now. I agree. I agree, man. This is such bullshit that a failing company that says that they're second to the UFC or says that they're competing with the UFC is just having Saudi oil money shoved down their throats. In my opinion, again, this is all my opinion, shoved down their throats to stay in business in exchange for propping up the MMA from that side of the world. The same thing goes for Corey Anderson. He fought Dovlet Magomedov, or something like that. He won clearly, in my opinion, 4 rounds to 1. Maybe you could give him the first, maybe. But at the very least, absolutely clear cut 4-1. And when you look right here, the judges, 2 of the judges giving 10-8 rounds. One of them gave Corey Anderson a 10-8 in the 4th. One gave Corey Anderson a 10-8 in the 5th for a 49-45 decision. And here we have Hadi Ali, who not only gave 0 10-8s in the fight, he also gave 2 rounds to Dovlet Muradov. That's how you say his last name. And then when you look at who gave a 49-46 scorecard, I know this one's terrible. This 50-45 is terrible as well. But a 49-46 scorecard to Usman Nurmagomedov. And you guys might be wondering, who the hell is this terrible ref? Well, you guys might remember people were calling for him to be removed as a judge at UFC 308 because he was a judge for the Rinat Fakhretdinov and Carlos Leal fight, which was a very back and forth fight. And you could say 29-28 Leal, or you could say 29-28 Rinat Fakhretdinov. 2 of the judges went for Rinat Fakhretdinov, and a lot of people thought that was a robbery. A lot of people had Leal winning that fight. But here you have Hadi Muhammad Ali giving a 30-27. This is at UFC 308 back in October. This was the Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway card. You have him here, of course, in Abu Dhabi, going for Rinat Fakhretdinov over Carlos Leal, who is Brazilian, I'll just say. And Rinat Fakhretdinov is, you know, one of the fighters whose last name ends in OV or EV. Then here he is in the main event giving a 49-46, in my opinion, in what was a 48-47 for Paul Hughes. And then also giving a 48-47 in a fight where the other judges gave 49-45s. Disgusting. Honestly, disgusting. But on the bright side, these fighters are being beaten more often than not these days, because Corey Anderson won. We also had this fucking sick knockout, Sergio Pettis, knocking out undefeated Magomedov. Honestly, just freaking crazy knockout. Boom, spinning elbow, puts him down. KO, slept. Corey Anderson becomes champ. So almost all of it ended well, but Usman Nurmagomedov by robbery. The PFL is a stain on MMA. I know the UFC is not perfect, but PFL is a fucking stain on MMA. They are controlled by money coming in to keep them afloat because they are a failing MMA promotion. I've said this before. They are a failing MMA promotion without the help of the Middle East to prop them up with money. And also now that UFC is leaving ESPN, they are the sole MMA promoter on ESPN. So that means ESPN is going to push PFL. I already see this anti-UFC momentum coming from PFL because of the money and ESPN backing them. But this is a shit organization. And in my opinion, that CEO guy, Don Davis, is, my opinion, riding this thing out to get a salary as long as he can until they put the kibosh on it, all right? That's what I think. Fucking shit organization. I'm usually in a better mood in my videos, but watching this, honestly, just betraying of the sport in some ways. It's almost in the same vein as giving Derek Moneyberg a black belt. I know I'm usually in a better mood, but this shit pissed me off. I was watching the PFL card. I was like, sick, we got fights on a Friday afternoon, and I was pissed. I left pissed. I literally left. I finished watching the event, and I was pissed. So that's my thoughts. Let me know yours down below. Do you want more from Fight Society? Like and subscribe below this video and click the join button to become a channel member today to get access to behind the scenes vlogs and members only live streams.